A grandmother's not shopping the same way that an 18-year-old is. They're not going to use the same keywords. They're not going to do the same search words. I'm a big believer in just getting rid of things that aren't working. I swear everybody that has done that and got rid of all the unnecessary junk has literally doubled their sales. If you don't understand who your customer is, you're not going to make money.
What if you could charge $100 for a print-on-demand product that everyone else sells for less than $20? Our guest today, seven-figure Etsy seller and AI expert George McConnell, does it all the time. His secret? Using AI to radically change a product's perceived value. And if you've noticed your Etsy shop slowing down, George says the problem isn't the algorithm. Today we're talking about his Black Friday playbook, why he thinks Cyber Monday is overhyped, and the costly mistake that he sees Etsy sellers making right now, even when Etsy tells them to do it. Let's dive into the grind.
All right, today we have George McConnell. He's a seasoned seven-figure Etsy seller who has scaled both handmade and more recently print-on-demand shops. He's also a Printify mentor and runs a YouTube channel all about online businesses and AI. Welcome, George.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. It's been a while since I saw you, so it's great to catch up.
So let's go ahead and jump in right now to the elephant in the room with Etsy. I've seen several videos go viral recently about this topic, and it's about the perceived slowdown on Etsy. Do you think that there is an actual slowdown compared to traffic, how traffic is typically this time of year, or not?
Well, traffic is usually slow in October and leading into November just because everybody's like anticipating Black Friday. So they're starting to wait for those sales to get the best deal for Christmas. However, with all the recent changes going on Etsy, it's kind of like hindered a lot of that and caused the slowdown because of title changes and aspect ratios and things like that with no clear direction. So I feel like a lot of sellers are kind of up in the air. Do I change my titles? Do I change my pictures? What am I doing here? And that's just causing a lot of confusion, which also is causing that slowdown. So from the market aspect, it's going to be slow, but also what direction you take is causing that as well.
How do you think the government shutdown is impacting the economy and like Etsy?
I don't think it's impacting anything. I mean, I don't see it. I target people that have money.
Right. So when there is a slowdown or people are perceived slowdown, how do you recommend getting traffic to your listings, to your shop?
I truly believe using Facebook. I don't usually use Etsy ads because it kind of targets everybody. It's based off keywords. Using Facebook, you can target, and as long as you know who your customers are, you could target directly right down to them, the area that they live in. You could target the top 5% in the entire country or maybe even the state. You can say what they like, what they don't like, get into exactly, that person and their interests and make sure that you put your product right in front of them. And that's how you're going to get the clicks. You're going to get sales. You're going to see your, sales skyrocket. Money's going to be put in your pocket just nonstop every day. But that's one thing that you have to learn with time because it is like a different learning curve. It's not just you click a button like Etsy ads. You actually need to understand who you're targeting and also how to target them, like what type of pictures they like, what type of mockups they like, how they actually stop, when they're scrolling, things like that. But with that learning curve, once you understand it, I mean, it's literally hand over fist, just money all day.
So whenever you are launching a new product, do you really keep your audience in mind? Like, is it designed towards an audience more so than like you see a trend and then you're jumping on that trend?
I keep it very niche and customer specific. And it's because then I can dial in, especially with ads. But you have to think about the way that people shop, right? A grandmother's not shopping the same way that an 18-year-old is. They're not going to use the same keywords. They're not going to do the same search words. They're not going to even be on the same platform. Younger demographic is usually on TikTok or Instagram, whereas the older demographics on Facebook. So everything that they do and every way that they shop is completely different. So once you are able to just grab a product, grab a design that's specific to that demographic, that's where the money is because you're understanding who that customer is and how to sell to them. And you're only going to get better with time on how to sell to them.
So jumping back to the Etsy changes you mentioned earlier, and how that could also be a factor in the perceived slowdown. Have you noticed a slowdown or has your community noticed after the title change and then the aspect ratio change?
A lot of people in my own community have, because of that whole, do we change the titles or not change the titles? And the issue here is Etsy continuously posts, these things, these error messages on your front page saying you need to change this, you need to update this. And they start getting scared. So they're updating all the listings, or they're updating everything all at once. And then the algorithm's going, whoa, 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 what the heck happened? You just changed 100, 200 listings. We need to figure out what's going on. And then that is really causing them to slow down. So what I'm suggesting to everybody is, if you have a product that is selling and you're making money with it, don't touch it. Just keep making money with it. Work on the ones that are slow, the ones that aren't getting sales, aren't getting views, aren't getting any favorites. Maybe change the title with that, change some pictures, do some A/B testing. And then if it's not panning out, just archive it. But really, for the ones that are making you money, don't touch them right.
Yep, I 100% agree. Even before this happened, it was always never touch a listing that's getting you sales. Like, don't touch
Exactly.
the photos, don't touch the SEO, just unless there's like something new that's been trademarked or something, leave it alone, because every time you make a change, it does change your rankings, because Etsy needs to know who do I change, who do I show this to now?
And that's with it. That's with everything, not even just Etsy. If you think about it, like YouTube, for example, when we make a change, you can see in the next hour, the views go down until the next hour after. You make a change on a Facebook ad, it takes an hour for it to update and relaunch. Everything does that. So when you make a change on Etsy, Etsy stops and goes, okay, hold on. What are you doing? Let me reevaluate this. Let me rescore this. And that causes a lot of issues, because the more you do it to more listings, then you're going to be, ranked a little lower until they figure it out.
Now, explain the aspect ratio change, because some people may not know what we're talking about.
So we actually have a template inside our community, Etsy Mentor. It's on the school platform. It pretty much, they went from a square to, an actual portrait. And
Depending on the device.
yes, because it's really screwed up. So that's why we actually made a template. So it has the actual, aspect ratio, and then shows you need to put this in the center. They kind of did the same thing like Instagram does. If you've ever scrolled through Instagram, some pictures are square and some pictures are completely portrait, right? And when you click on it, it actually opens up the whole entire screen. That's, I feel like, what they're going after, but they haven't really figured out how to get it to work completely yet.
Okay. So do you think that they're trying, that's basically their goal? They're trying to become either more like Pinterest or more like Instagram in hopes of
Definitely. Yeah.
getting more sales?
They're going more for that aesthetic look, because you can even tell as you'll see updates consistently. You'll have an update and then the update's gone. Then you'll have a new look, then it's gone. Even the characters are now smaller, but it's 60 characters on the mobile device. It wasn't like that before. Now they're adding like the little colors. So if you sell shirts, if you've noticed, and it disappears sometimes. So if you hit refresh, it might be gone. But at the bottom of your listing, you'll actually see what colors are available for that shirt. And they're trying different things and seeing what works. And I think that's throwing a lot of people off. It even throws me off when I hit the refresh and then it's gone. I'm like, was this something I was just imagining or what?
Right. When did you notice the thumbnail change?
The thumbnail change was just random one day when I was clicking and I went to a different page and the page looked completely different. I was taken back, hit the refresh. And like I just said before, it was back to just square again. And I was like, okay, what happened?
What I
Was that
noticed
me?
is on iPhone, it's portrait aspect
Yes.
ratio. On Android, it's closer to the one to one square ratio. And then on laptop, it's portrait again with Windows laptop. So, I mean, yeah, it's all over the place. So people will, basically you have to create a buffer zone around your thumbnail.
Yeah, which is
About
actually what
200,
we did with
200 pixels.
Yeah, that's what we did with the template that we created, is having that little buffer, which is pretty much like Instagram, because Instagram has those too, where it's you cut off the top, you cut off the bottom, just in case, depending on what device you have. I think it would be great if they released their own template and told everybody, but I still feel like they're experimenting. As everybody knows, it's been on Etsy for years. They throw out these little experiments and we just have to,
Roll
you
with
know,
it.
exactly. There's nothing that we could do or say. We're kind of just, okay, let's hope for the best here. Let's
Yeah.
go on this ride with you.
hmm Well, their end goal is always to get more sales and, obviously for us to get more
Yes.
sales. So we
Yeah.
just have to keep that in mind that they're trying to do this, to try and help everyone be more successful.
And I think a lot of people, what happens is the reason that people lose these sales is that they make the changes right away. And us, tenured sellers that understand that these changes come and go,
Mm-hmm.
we don't do anything while they're doing these updates because they're still testing themselves. So if we make the changes and we change everything and we're like, all right, we're good now. And then they go, you know what? That wasn't a good idea. Let's just revert it. We
Mm-hmm.
just made all those changes for nothing. And we're
We
just slowing
lost
down
all
our
that
own
time.
progress. Yeah.
I've noticed that with unsuccessful sellers too, they tend to spend their time on things that aren't going to move the needle for their business. They're going to go in and change it 200 listings SEO, or they're going to update their keywords on listings that have been sitting there for a year that haven't been getting sales, rather than just like moving on, like archiving. That's what you're big on, archiving and moving on. And like for me, I was always just so excited to get my next product launched that I kind of like didn't worry about the old listings very much. Not that there isn't some benefit in going back and optimizing listings that you think are good, but oftentimes in reality, those listings are just like, they weren't liked by the market.
Yeah,
And
and they're
so,
kind of holding you back,
yeah,
I like to say that imagine that they're on your belt and you're like trying to walk or run somewhere and you just have all these things just behind you. Get rid of them. And as you know, I'm a big believer in just getting rid of things that aren't working. And everybody that I've worked with, I've told as soon as I like check out their shop, I'm like, get rid of all the ones that aren't selling. Some of them are hesitant, but I swear everybody that has done that and got rid of all the unnecessary junk has literally doubled their sales because it's a
wow.
lot less to look at. If you think about it, 36 pages of
Right.
items, nobody's going to go through that. And when you do the search button, you're mainly using all the same keywords. So everything's still, again, 30
A
pages.
jumble.
So it's not really helping you. It's not helping the buyer, and getting rid of those profitable items is the best thing that you could do.
Well, and you don't realize how much money it costs your shop. That 20 cents adds up.
Yeah.
I remember I had when I had my second child, I put my shop on vacation for like 2 months, and which normally I wouldn't recommend doing, but I knew I couldn't handle it at the time. I didn't want to risk my shop, missing a message or getting an order that didn't get fulfilled and like having it shut down. Now I would just, hire a VA for it. But at the time I didn't know to do that. And I got my first bill. I think it was like $75. I was like, what? What am I getting a bill for? And I was like, all of these listings renewed. And I went back and looked, and like some of them were ones that hadn't sold in a long time. And I'm like, why are these still in my shop? I just paid money,
Yeah.
profit, it came out of my profit for listings that aren't even selling, that I should have just archived, like you mentioned.
And
And
it's funny
so
that you
that's
noticed
cost you money.
You noticed them with only $75. This person I was working with the other day, we did the math. It was like $900 a year. And I was like, why are you doing this? Just get rid of
Wow.
them. And then the fear is that you're going to get a sale eventually. And this is what happens all the time. And this is what keeps people
Mhm.
from keeping those and archiving them is they'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to let this run out after 3 months. It'll be fine.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden they get a sale and they go, let's keep it just in case because we
Uh-huh.
got that one sale. Well, you got one sale in 1 year. You're not making any money off it. You're not going to be
It's not
rich.
going to be a
Get
bestseller.
rid of it. Yeah, it's not doing anything. I can find more money in my couch.
Now, I will say, if you have items that sold well during the holidays, make sure you keep them up for the next season. That's
Yeah.
the only thing.
Yeah, I think that is season related until the season's about to come back.
Okay,
Just
and then
because
you
then
refresh
keep
it.
it a little decluttering it.
Okay, and you notice that doesn't impact the rankings on that listing
No, not at all.
negatively.
Actually, it looks like it's a fresh listing once you launch it again.
Okay.
So how the Etsy ads work is like when you launch a new listing, what happens? They get like a little notification sometimes, depending if they follow you. Also, updates. It'll see, hey, these are just added, and it looks like a brand new listing that you added because they'll see that in their
Mhm.
news.
Do you think that Etsy is changing, or do you think it's evolving?
I think that they're still trying to figure it out themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because they used to be a huge platform that was homemade, obviously. Everybody just made things. Now it's going more to, POD, some drop shipping here and there. And because of that, they're looking at picture wise. They want those pictures to be crisp, clean, professional,
Mm-hmm.
the same thing that you would see if you went to a luxury store versus before it was somebody could take a picture with their cell phone on their kitchen table and it would sell and they would push the crap out of it. Etsy no longer wants that. They want that professionalism, and that's the big change that a lot of people need to adapt to. So it's good and bad. It's bad for the old sellers that aren't ready or don't know how to do that. And it's good for the sellers that are ready to pivot and, they want to have those luxury items. They want to make more.
Now, do you recommend taking the time to add a video to your listings? Like, do you see a significant difference in conversion rate?
I think videos are good depending on what product you sell.
Okay.
If you're selling shirts, a video, it's not really 100% necessary. They're good for like ads and stuff like that. Sometimes to stop a scroll if it's on Instagram. But during a listing itself, it's not really 100% going to make or break you. I like what I see a lot of is people are making the videos for at least shirts. They're doing the whole size chart, which is great. And I love seeing that where it's a girl and she's like turning around. I think that's amazing just because it's showing the shirt size on them. It's showing the front, showing the back. It's telling you, how tall they are, how much they weigh. They're wearing a small and a large. It gives you the idea of everything. And you have the video, but you also have it's beneficial in the sense of it's an infographic.
Okay. No, I agree with that. Now, we're going to jump a little bit more into AI later because I know that's, a topic that you enjoyed discussing
I
on your
love
channel.
AI.
So this is kind of controversial. Do you recommend using AI mockups or real
I
mockups?
do. I
Okay.
do. And a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't, but it's okay as long as
That's the policy, George.
the Etsy policy says you are allowed to use a mockup with AI as long as you are showcasing the product in the way that it is. There's a gray line there. But some people just say, okay, well, make me this mockup with a shirt. But they need to have the shirt that you're selling. You need to have the tote bag that you're selling. The stitching needs to be the same. The shirt needs to be the same. The cell phone case needs to be the same, which before, say a year ago or even, longer, it was difficult to do. Now with Nano Banana, you literally could take a cell phone case, take a picture of it yourself, and then take a model and say, I want this in the hand of the model. And it will literally take that cell phone and put it in that hand with no issue at all. It's going to be that actual item. And that's, going to set so many people apart because as everybody knows, it's always the same model, especially for shirts. It's always the same model, blonde hair with her legs crossed. As you scroll through, you just see 150 of her on there. It's all blending in. You have one mock-up that you've created with AI, as long as the item is displayed correctly, it's going to stop them scrolling because they just go blonde girl, blonde girl, blonde girl, boom. Oh, what is this?
Yes.
Click.
Yes. I agree. And AI is getting very good at creating very believable mockups, very professional mockups. And I've you spend a lot of time on Etsy and more top shops are using AI generated mockups and they're good and they're converting for them. So I completely agree.
One thing also, I just released a video recently about early access items. Printify doesn't give you mockups for early access. I took that early access item. I used Nano Banana to put my logo on it. Then I used Midjourney to create the actual realism of a photo. Then I took that, put that in the Nano Banana, put the actual charcuterie board in there, and it made it perfectly fine. It was the exact same size. It was the logo on there. Everything was perfect. And that's just the benefit now. Before, if I would have done that, it would have just randomly either put a random cutting board or a charcuterie board in there without a logo, or it probably would have threw it out the window. I mean, there would have been a random person in the photo, even if I didn't ask for it. But now it's so dialed in that you could do this. And the early access items, it's very beneficial because we don't get mockups with early access items.
Here, I'm going to try and pull up Gemini and show you guys a recent mockup that I made. Let's see. Just to give you guys an idea of what he's talking about with Nano. Share. Okay, so this is an ornament, a Printify ornament. Once again, it was just one of their basic ceramic ornaments. So I downloaded that mockup. And then right now, according to Etsy's latest trend report, Nutcracker, core is popular. So I made a Nutcracker core mockup, just for fun. And so it looks, it's the exact product. So, and this is the mock-up video for that. So I just asked it to create, a mock-up basically. So that was swinging back and forth. And this is just an example. Like it can do this with t-shirts or, tote bags and anything. And it can actually be a model. But like it added that music, everything. It was crazy.
That's cool.
Like, what? And I see smart sellers, really smart sellers who know the social media game, really taking advantage and leveraging this, the new AI videos, where you can create very realistic model mock-ups, things like that. And, really jumping on trends basically that happen. And they can quickly jump on trends because they can just make AI videos of very, very realistic mock-ups. Whether it's an audio trend or, insert trend. There's all kinds of social media trends that happen on TikTok and Facebook and on YouTube that now these videos could really insert you in there in a way that you couldn't have done before.
Sure. I'm going to share my screen here, just show you one little thing that I created here. Okay. So first thing is I created this in Midjourney. All right. And I asked it to make me a luxury apartment. I wanted something that had marble countertops and I want a cutting board in there because I'm going to ask it to replace this cutting board with the cutting board that I create. So I need something in there because if I just say put this cutting board on the marble countertops, sometimes it messes it up. If you have it swap, it's much easier to do. So going through all this, I was making all sorts of different ones. I ended up liking this one. Now, a lot of people are always questioning, well, how do you charge so much money for different things? The money and the value of the item is what is perceived in the picture. So for example, like this water bottle here, okay? If I take a picture of it by itself like this, it's only worth $5. But if I put this in the hands of a fitness model, all right, now it becomes a fitness accessory and I could charge $35 for it because of the way that it's being displayed. So it's the perceived value. So in this case, putting this cutting board in here, I then took this image, went to Gemini. Now I've already switched over my, M logo and putting it on there. I said, all I wrote was replace the cutting board inside the kitchen with the attached image. And here it is right there. The new cutting board from Printify on the countertop, same exact thing, has even a little bit of cheese on there. And I mean, it's just gorgeous. This is something now I can sell for $100 because of the perceived value that's seen in the image. It's now in a nice luxury apartment or a condo versus just it being taken on a, regular table.
And you would use this as a main listing thumbnail or to create a video with, or...
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you can even have some people around it, maybe just laughing, enjoying it like it's a party. So now they're starting to put their mind in, I can have this charcuterie board for my next party and everybody's going to love it. We're all going to be eating cheese and drinking wine.
Now, do you think you're able to charge those prices also because you're targeting an audience on Facebook?
Yes, you can. That does help. A great example of that is so many people always say, you can't do that because everybody else on Etsy does it for this price. This is actually really mind blowing. I hope a lot of you are listening right now. Those pillows that are shaped, right? Like the cats, dogs, people, all that. Most people sell it for about $20. There's a company out there selling theirs for $60 a pillow, and they're making bank. I actually stumbled onto one of their Facebook ads and it was the dog, right? They had a dog pillow and they handed it to the dog itself. And the dog literally like tore this pillow up, but it made you laugh. It made you watch it. And if you were in the market to get a dog pillow or pet pillow at all, you would click on it. And from there, you're not going to these other listings. You're not shopping around. That link made you click it. You're ready to buy it and $60.
Okay.
And they're making so much money from that, where everybody else is charging $20. That ad really targeted the people. Their video made you stop and watch it and laugh and smile. And if you can get a customer to laugh or smile, you sold them right
emotional
there.
reaction.
They're going to click that buy button.
I really preach that. Emotional reactions. People will hand money over for that. Or to make a memory, to celebrate a milestone,
Yeah. I mean, as you know, I like to go after people with weddings, babies, birthdays. It's something that always happens. Weddings are always occurring. Birthday happens every year and a baby's born every day. So.
Yep. No, I completely agree. In fact, some of the best shops I've seen sort of focus on those specific niches, I've seen really hugely successful shops where they just focus on milestone birthdays for kids, or they celebrate the birth of the child, and then they have like a Father's Day, Mother's Day gifts. And then they also have the milestone, birthdays for the kids, where they're kind of like capturing the first 5 years of these parents, like first Mother's Day, first Christmas, and they're really honed in on those milestones. Because then if they capture that customer when they're a baby, then they will have them through, 5 years. And so yeah, it's kind of brilliant. Okay, so now let's jump into Black Friday. So tell us about your personal Black Friday playbook. So what strategies should we consider tackling to get more sales on Black Friday?
So I always run sales every day, stagger them. So it's random. So I'll have like 20% off. So it'll be 20, and then all of a sudden it's 30, and then it's back to 20. It keeps people guessing. They don't know what sale I'm going to run the next day. I still do run my biggest sale ever, always on Black Friday. And I don't care if I like lose a little bit of money on that. Say if I'm like my max is like 30% off, I'll do a 40% off on Black Friday alone. And won't adjust any of the pricing. I'll take a little bit of a hit, but it's because so many shoppers on Black Friday, you can't go wrong. I mean, you may lose a little bit of money, but how much are you really going to lose after you get, 10 times more sales?
Okay. So you notice a lot more traffic. Now, what about Cyber Monday?
Cyber Monday sucks.
Really?
Yeah, it used to be huge. But for the past 2 years, it hasn't been as crazy, which is interesting. Back in 2020, 2021, and 2022, it was massive. And past 2 years, it was just like kind of hit or miss.
Okay, so
Black
you
Friday
do
is
notice
so
that more
popular.
Black Friday is the best.
I think it's just people don't want to go to stores anymore. And if you've noticed, Black Friday sales go throughout the whole entire week. You can get most of the stuff online now. You don't have to go to the store. And even if you do go to the store, I mean, you can get tickets in advance for certain items. So you don't have to like rush in there, punch people in the face and try to get that TV. You can literally sign up and get that TV, delivered to your house, or just pull your car up and they'll throw it in there. So I think a lot of the change, the way that people shop has changed. So that's why they still see Black Friday as huge, but they're more, okay, I'll buy it online rather than going to a store.
How do you recommend sellers prep their listings in their shop right now, leading up to Black Friday?
So leading up to it, make sure that your SEO is on point. Obviously, I like to use Amazon, and anybody that's seen my SEO videos, you don't need tools for it. You just go to Amazon. Amazon makes $2 billion a day. So when you search up, say, a similar item that you sell, whatever's on that first page, they're pushing that for a reason. So look at the keywords that they're using and put that in your listing, because that's the keywords people are actually using today. That's going to get you a sale. So start looking at that, making sure your SEO is on point. From there, also your images, right? A lot of people out there, they're just using basic mockups, and no offense, they're shit. So you want to stand out. You want to be different. If you're blending in, you're not going to get the sales. Stand out, be bold, be different, get ready. Because as soon as that Black Friday hits and they're scrolling through and they see all the same stuff and everything's blending, if they see you being bold, they're going to stop, click, and they're not going to think twice, because they need to hurry up and purchase it, because the holidays are coming up. And also mention that, they're like, is this going to sell out? Is this not going to sell out? Do I need this now? I need it now because, blah, blah, blah. So much.
Yeah, one tip I recommend for new sellers is to, whatever product that you sell, maybe it's like, Christmas tote bags or something. Look at the bestsellers, look them up on Etsy, find the bestsellers, screenshot like the top 8, put it into Canva, take your mockup, insert it in there, and does this stand out? Okay. It needs to be as good or better than the competition to get sales. And be honest with yourself. Does this match the aesthetic? Is it as good or better? Would I buy this over all these other products? I think that's a good way to kind of give yourself some perspective as well.
Yeah, and you need to be honest with that, because I feel like a lot of people aren't honest with that. They take a step back and they don't see it. Okay, would I buy this? And they just lie to themselves and they go, oh, I would buy this. No, you wouldn't. It's complete garbage. So unless, I've been telling people recently, I need you to think, if you're selling this design on this shirt, can you imagine 100 people walking around with it in one day if you walked out? Or even, how about in a month? Would you see 100 people wearing this sort of shirt when you're walking around town? And if you don't, then you're not going to get the sales. Because if you want to make money, then you need to sell tens of thousands of items. And if you're only going to sell maybe 10 of these, you're not going to make enough money to retire. You're still going to be working. You're only getting gas money at that.
So for people who aren't quite ready for Black Friday yet, what would you recommend that they stop and do right now? Or what type of listings would you recommend they create? Either or.
If you're not ready, don't rush it, because tax season is the next best bet. So you don't have to rush to try to get out for Black Friday and Christmas and think, oh no, I'm going to miss quarter 4. Tax season's right after that. So you'll make money going into that next year.
So looking ahead into 2026, when you say tax season, what types of niches would you recommend to start designing for beginning in November, December, when you're kind of like, well, what do I design for now? You know, that Christmas is kind of over.
I mean, really anything, but I like anniversaries. I like birthdays, things like that. Get going after the gift givers. Yeah. Keepsake items are always a number one. A lot of dumb items will sell too, because it's like you get money and you're just like, oh, I want to buy all the things. So really, you can't go wrong with whatever you sell, whatever niche you go into, but you can go wrong with not designing for your customer. So if you're not designing specifically for your customer, you're going to lose out. But based off of what niche or what product to sell, I mean, so many things sell because you get all that money and you look at it like it's free money, even though it was still your money, but it's like, it's free money. I'm just going to spend it on everything.
Right. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. You know, I completely agree. I think when sellers sort of shift their mindset towards like chasing a trend or trying to sell like what's high volume, high searched, and really going after like gift mode, and that like these are gifts for people. Most people come to Etsy, like whenever I shopped on Etsy, I came to buy a gift. And so just keeping those, who is the recipient of these gifts, and keeping that in mind. eRank, interestingly enough, they have a spot where it shows you like the last 30 days, who are the top recipients of like people are searching for in Etsy. And it's always very interesting. It changes like weekly. But it's almost always like baby, kids, gifts for men. A lot of people forget that the women are coming to shop on Etsy looking for gifts for men, for their husbands, for their dads, for things like that.
And I mean, babies will always be a top seller. You know, even think about how much money you've spent on your own kids, right?
Yeah.
They receive every little dollar that we have. So, you know, we will go without food just to get our child something.
Right.
The babies are always going to be number one. If you could target a baby for anything, you're going to make money.
I initially, my very first shop, I started to sell baby items, but I got really discouraged when I discovered I couldn't use the word onesie. I was like, how do I sell onesies if I can't use the word onesie?
Yeah.
So I was trying to do, I think, like the baby birth announcement onesies, because I'd gotten my very first trademark infringement. It was from Gerber for using the word onesie, because I was brand new, didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, what do you mean I can't use the word onesie? And I like abandoned the niche after that. And I should have stuck with it. I probably would have done really well with it. But I was like so mad about it.
Yeah, I wonder if you would have split it into 2 words if it would have worked.
We're supposed to use bodysuit or, you know, just use other keywords. But at the time, I was just like devastated. And
Maybe
now there are print-on-demand Gerber onesies. So you can use it now. Like if you're using a Gerber onesie, I think it's still risky because they're so like, that's a company that will hunt you down for using that word.
You know what? And what's crazy is it's mostly not even the company itself. For instance, you know, this happens with Samsung all the time. This is why I tell people not to put Samsung in any listing for their cell phone cases. I worked for Samsung and I understand it wasn't our lawyers that would go after people. It was other lawyers that are IP infringement lawyers that just literally scour the internet for infringements, and then they do it. They try to gather some money from you and then they show it to that company. And they're like, look what I've collected for you, to try to get a job. Pretty much that's what happened on a daily basis. So it's not always necessarily the actual company that's going after you. In most cases, it's these random lawyers trying to like show up and get a job with a bigger company.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know. All right. So now that we've talked a little bit about Q4 prep, let's jump into something even more exciting. AI. How are you using AI in your business right now? Like honestly, like on a day-to-day basis, how are you using it?
I mean, I automate my entire life. If I can clone myself, that would be great, which I didn't make a video of me cloning myself, but it wasn't perfect. But if I can literally clone myself to do everything, it'd be great. I try to have it do everything. I mean, literally Zapier saves my life so much. I love it just because it automates everything. I can have everything put into an Excel for me automatically. And then I have that Excel go into ChatGPT, and every day I'll have a printout and it gets emailed to me telling me who what the top sellers were, what locations, and if there were any repeat buyers. So
Okay.
beforehand, I used to do it in Excel with a pivot table. I had to manually do it, click on it. And, even though a pivot table only takes you maybe 10 minutes, it's much better when it gets emailed to you in the morning. Click on a button and it's already done for you.
So, do you use AI for your design mostly at this point? Or do you still do
So,
manual designing?
yeah, because I suck at designing. I am
Okay.
not a creative person. I used
Okay.
to pay people in the past to make me designs. Now with AI, I can literally I have ideas in my head. So I'd have to talk to a designer and be like, hey, can you make this? Because otherwise I'd spend hours trying to make something and I think it would still look like crap. Some of the things I did make took off that looked like crap, but that's neither here nor there. So I used to pay a lot of people to make those designs that were in my head. Now with AI, you can draw it out. You can type to it. You could say, this is my idea. Can you replicate this? Can you make this?
Mm-hmm.
It just makes designing so much easier, which I love, and then you can just
Mm-hmm.
change it here and there and have the little aspects changed.
Mm-hmm.
But it's making life easier for anybody that doesn't have that creative mindset. I mean, I'm more of a marketer. I know how to market any product to make any money, but the design was always my biggest flaw.
No, I think in some ways it's actually making people more creative and more productive than before.
For
Before
sure.
it was
Yeah.
just like, well, I can't do this. I don't have the skill set for that. And now, that barrier has been removed and we do.
Yeah. The issue is when people start their business, they think that they need to be the one wearing the hat in every aspect. You know, I need to know how to do this. I need to be the photographer. I need to be the editor. I need to be the SEO guru, when in reality, bigger businesses, we just hire people, we delegate. Now with AI, you don't need to hire people because AI is your, employee.
Mm-hmm. Have you actually replaced employees because of AI?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like what
I don't,
types of employees? Like VAs
anybody
or?
that's actually giving me all the data, it's done
Mhm.
automatically. I don't need that anymore. I sold my physical business almost 2 years ago now, and that's gone. I mean, I don't have that. All I have is the POD, and I could do all that automatically. The POD partners do everything for me. ChatGPT grabs all the data for me, send me an email every single morning. So, I mean, I don't have to, I still have somebody on there as an assistant that helps me keep my life together.
Everyone could use one of those. Where do you hire
Yeah.
that person at?
Yeah. Well, actually, it was still an old employee. So, I
Okay.
mean,
Nice.
they were always handling my life anyway. When I was in my physical business, they would literally follow me around and tell me how much time I had till I had to leave to go pick up my sons.
That's nice. But also the viewers who are maybe new to print on demand, can you explain that process to them and what that means?
So, print on demand is probably the most passive income that you can get with an item. You pretty much only have to deal with creating the design and talking to your customers, listing it. But you send everything to a production partner. So, you make the design, you put it on a product, and then you just upload it. The production partner, when you make a sale through Etsy, Shopify, wherever you're selling it, it gets sent to the production partner. They take the design that you added to it, they print it, they put it on that design, they package it, and they ship it. They even provide the tracking number and update the tracking number on the system. So everything is done for you. It's the easiest thing in the world. And the only thing we have to handle from our side is one, creating those designs, and two, just customer service, which if Etsy would allow the API to have ChatGPT connect, we wouldn't even have to do that. But
I
unfortunately, at this
agree.
time, you still have to do that. Now, if you have a Shopify, you don't, because you can connect ChatGPT and it'll be
Oh,
a chatbot.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, it can handle everything. Especially if you set it up, it'll do your emails. It can respond to your emails. If you have a little chat bot, somebody can actually message it, and then you can have it programmed so that if it says, hey, what's my order? It can give the order. It can give the status, the shipping, look everything up. I mean, that's just the luxury of having ChatGPT connected to an outside website. So hopefully one day Etsy allows that, because it would just make life much easier.
Now, which print on demand company do you recommend? Like, do you personally use? Or do you use
So
like multiple?
I use a multiple, but I mean, Printify is main supplier with everything. Have been, playing around with Merchize because they do offer certain things that Printify unfortunately does not offer.
Okay.
And Also located in Vietnam, not China. Everybody always thinks like when you go with another person, they're in China. They're in Vietnam, so they don't have those certain holidays and they ship pretty
Okay.
quick.
Okay.
So the two main ones that I've been really dabbling in. I still love Printify. I love Printful and I love their products. I just want them to expand faster on certain things like those
Okay.
sun catchers. Those sun catchers right now are just,
Yes.
they are so
Crazy.
popular
Who's
and you can
selling
make
those?
so much money with them, but they're not available through Printify. They are available through Merchize.
Merchandise. Okay. Have you started using those?
I have not, but I did
Okay.
get a couple samples in and I do have a couple of people in my community that are selling them and they're making pretty good money.
Okay. All right. What is the profit margin on those?
You're looking at about 60%.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good price, and then what you could charge for it because a lot of people aren't selling them or know how to sell them or what to do to sell them. They're
Okay.
making sun catchers with like flowers on it and stuff like that. But if you make a custom one with the person's pet, they're taking off. They're selling hundreds a month right now. I mean, there was one that I looked at the other
Hot
day. I
tip
think
there,
it was,
guys.
yeah, I think it sold like 350 in a month, and
Wow.
it's not even Christmas yet. So just wait
Yeah.
until
Just wait till
Christmas
Christmas. It's
comes
gonna
up.
go nuts.
Yeah.
So what about personalized orders? So like, so all of those orders are personalized of the pets. What are they doing to help to automate that? Like, how are they keeping up with all those orders?
So with that, unfortunately, right now it's a manual process. But so this is on here. It's not 100% official, but I
Okay.
have some connects there, right? Anywhere POD might be connecting with Merchize, which would then automate that entire process.
Whoa, that would be really cool.
Hopefully, Chris doesn't get mad at me for that.
George is the one who introduced me to Anywhere POD. I was like really slow. I was like, I don't know, George. Like I've seen it all. It
I
can't
know.
be that great. And just around Father's Day is when I started dabbling a little bit with Anywhere POD, and it's a really good company. I've
Just to
had
let everybody know, if you want to test it out, you can use the code Etsy Mentor and you'll get 30 days for free.
exactly, yes, awesome. It's a really and I really like Chris. He's like the actual developer.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the people who like own the companies aren't the developers. Like they have to like partner with a developer and it's really slow to make changes. And like with Chris as the developer, he's just like he gets an idea, like it could be from a customer, it can be from, what he works with, and he can just like make it happen. So I think that's just incredible.
He also jumped on calls with people.
He will
So
hop on calls with people. Yeah, he's been on my
yeah,
channel
he's making
before.
calls with people,
Yeah.
So that's like, even there, a lot of people think, oh, well, they're too busy. CEO is not going to jump on a call. He has jumped on the calls with people to help them. So
Yeah,
amazing.
that's awesome. Just like, yeah, the amazing customer service. And I love the fact that they have like exclusive products that like you can't find anywhere else. So, and just, that you can use it as a hub for personalized orders. Like it really can change how you do print and demand.
Yeah, and that's one thing to note too with Anywhere POD is you can connect multiple print providers and have it on the same listing. So I was working with my client the other day and he sells wall art and he has 4 different suppliers for one listing. That's not something that you would be able to do easily in Etsy or anywhere else without Anywhere POD. To be able to have those 4 different POD providers for just one listing is just amazing.
And I'll make sure to link them below as well. So now moving on back to AI, how do you expect to use AI in 2026 to further your business? Like, where do you think it's going to go in the next year?
I mean, where it's going to go, all I could say is if you're not using AI, you need to jump in there now. I use it more than I use Google. I literally ask it things that I would ask Google. Where are you going to go with it? It's going to automate everything that you ever have. You're going to be able to automate your designs. You're going to be able to set up your listings in seconds. I guarantee if you understand AI, and I plan on launching a new business soon, so everybody watch out for that. But I'm going to show steps from point A to point B. I'm going to make this $1 million business literally within 30 days, and it's all going to be using AI. So
Really?
these are
And you're going
things
to document it on your YouTube channel?
I'm still trying to figure out where I want to document this, if I want to
Okay.
do it in the community or not, or if
Okay.
I'm going to do it on the YouTube, because I don't want to mess with my algorithm. I already screwed that up once where I wasn't getting views because I released a video to help people and it kind of shifted everything. So
Yeah. So your community, by the way, that is going to be linked below. So he keeps referring to his community. Right. Is that still open to like anyone who wants to join?
yeah. And I mean, it's $1 a month, but it also comes with a 7-day free trial. There's over 35 hours of content in there, complete course. The people that have taken the course are already making 5 figures each and every single month. They start up brand new shops. I mean, we have a lot of successful community members in there, and plus everybody inside is great. A lot of people join and say, I can't believe that a community like this exists. And it's funny, it's like kind of like, oh yeah, okay, George. But once you get there, you'll understand because everybody actually pushes each other. Nobody sits there and like says, oh no, you suck, right? If somebody's having a hard day and they say, I'm just having a hard day, I don't know where I'm going, everybody rallies behind you and pushes you. And they're like, come on, you could do this. We got your back. And it's just something that a lot of people aren't used to. So that's the community. And I love it. I love every single person in there. I'm so grateful to have every single person. Yeah. And the only people that aren't supportive is me. I'm always the one telling you that your designs suck. So I'm the only mean one in there.
You're just being honest. It's tough love, George.
Yeah, pretty much.
So is that pretty much your still like when people aren't getting sales on Etsy and they're new or they're an established shop, if things are slow in their shop, is that still like what you normally see as the issue, like that their designs suck?
It's usually their designs. Yeah, I've seen a lot of horrible designs. So that's number one. Is your designs usually suck. And trust me, I'm not some amazing person. Like I said earlier, I don't have that much creativity inside me for design wise, right? So I wasn't amazing at making designs. I had to perfect them over time. And then the ones that I didn't think would take off did take off because our customers are what chooses that sells, right? But usually it's the design. If it's not the design, then it's clearly the mockup. The mockup, everybody thinks that you could just grab a random mockup from Printify, throw it online. You're going to make these sales. You never have to touch it again. You're going to be ranking in dough. You're going to be a millionaire. That's not the case. You have to pivot. You have to continuously see what's going on. Apparel. A lot of people sell shirts online, right? And there's 23 million shirts on Etsy. People still make money with it because they're always adapting. And if you ever notice, they'll change the pictures, right? They're not doing that just because they're bored. Right now, what is the top trending color? That top trending color, make that your first image. Don't keep black or white just because that's what you want to stick with. The top color for 2025 leading into 2026 is like a mocha color, right? So espresso mocha, it's like that brown. So change it to that because that's the top seller. Why are you keeping it still black or white? That's the other issue. And then SEO, it's here or there because you can kind of get away from it with ads. But a lot of people continuously use the same keywords over and over for every listing when that's not the case. It really depends on how your buyer shops, how your buyer is searching for things, and then what your buyer sees. So really create the SEO based on how they're searching, not just general.
Okay. So a couple of quick questions before we wrap up here. If someone were starting an Etsy shop from scratch today, what kind of shop would you recommend building? Or even not even an Etsy shop. If someone is here and they want to make their first $1,000 online, their first $10,000 online, what would you recommend that they build?
So the first thing is understanding what a niche is, right? So a lot of people think that a niche is a design. So a lot of people go, okay, I'm going to go with camping. Camping isn't a niche. It's a recreational activity. All right. What a niche would be is it's a product or a service. So if you take a camping in some way and put it on a product, like a mug, that is your niche. So you'll see this over and over, like minimalist sarcasm on shirts or mugs. That's a niche. Custom photos on this mug. That's a niche. So what you need to figure out is what product you want to sell. That's the first step. Then the second step is what demographic? Who do I want to target? That customer, because that's going to determine the design. And now with those two together, now you have your niche.
And you think that is the difference between a successful shop and a not successful?
That is because a lot of people just throw random designs on random items, throw them up there. It's kind of like throwing things at the wall and hoping for the best. If you don't understand who your customer is, you're not going to make money. And I've been saying this a lot lately. So I want everybody to think the biggest companies in the world, Nike, for example, they only sold shoes. They sold shoes for well over 10 years, just a running shoe before they actually branched out into tennis shoes. And then they launched, ones for soccer and one for basketball and things like that. It wasn't until 1982 that they actually dropped the Air Force Ones. It took them 15 years to even have apparel, right? Why? Because they needed to understand their core demographic, their audience. You have Lululemon, right? They only had leggings. They didn't have extra apparel for 5 years. Even Amazon, they didn't have physical items for 4 years. There's a reason behind that. It's to understand who you're selling to. Once you understand who you're selling to, that's where you make unbelievable money. But we didn't become millionaires just because we got lucky. We became millionaires because we understood who we're selling it to, and then also having high margins.
And what top 3 print-on-demand items, if someone's brand new just getting into Etsy right now or selling online, would you recommend selling? Would it still be t-shirts? What would you recommend?
So as funny as it is, everybody always starts off with apparel. I don't know why. I think it's just because we wear clothes. Apparel is actually the 3rd largest category on Etsy. The first one is jewelry, which is kind of hard to compete against, and it's also hard in the POD space, except Printify did just launch jewelry. The second space is home decor. So if I had a choice, I would go after something homey. Pillows make a ton of money. Wall art makes a ton of money as well. And the margins in those are like 60%. So even after all your fees and everything like that, you're still walking away with 40.
So when you say wall art, you say
That's not
like
3, but that's literally what I would go after. I like mugs too, because I drink a lot of coffee and espresso.
Same, coffee girl. So when you say wall art, do you mean like canvases, posters, things like that?
Yes, and you usually put a poster as one of the options because it keeps that price lower. And most people are going to buy the canvas or the framed canvas, which I mean, you could sell one for $140 if you do a 20 by 36.
And as a last question, what is your favorite prompt or AI hack that you would recommend for sellers right now?
I think a lot of people watching this are new. So ask ChatGPT or Gemini to prompt for you. So if you're not sure how to do something, ask it and it will give you that prompt. I think that's going to help a lot of sellers understand. Also, one more thing is these LLMs are designed to be your friend eventually, right? So they'll just agree with you. And if you can even test this out and say, okay, I want to do this. What do you think about this? And then write it back and say, I think this is a good idea. It won't say no. It'll say, yeah, it is a good idea. And these are the reasons why. Ask it why you shouldn't do something. And it'll argue with you. That's what you want, because you want that argument. You want to see if this is a good idea or not somebody that's just going to agree with you, like a family member that doesn't care if you survive or not.
I do recommend AI trying to conserve energy with its answers. And so if you get an answer that is just like kind of meh, like it's not that helpful, push it a little further and it will work a little harder for you, because initially it's not going to give you its best effort first. It's kind of like a person, like, with a person, like sometimes, you hire a worker and they might not give their best effort at first. And then if, you try and challenge them, then okay, they're going to give their best effort. And it's the same thing with AI. So if you don't like the first answer, don't be afraid to reprompt it and like push it to work a little harder for you.
Yeah, just like Angel said, what's funny is you can also test this too. Tell it to give you the top 25 of something. Be like, hey, give me 25 ideas, right? If you ever notice the top 5, golden. After that, It gets crappier and crappier. Like she said, it's kind of conserving its energy and being, just mediocre at that point.
Well, thank you so much, George. There were tons of gems here. I appreciate you and your time. Where can everyone find you at?
Well, first, thank you for having me on, and thank everybody just for watching. You can find me on YouTube, George D. McConnell. You can find my community on the school platform. It's Etsy Mentor. I look forward to seeing you both on there, hopefully. And thank you again so much for having me on here.
And if you made it all the way to the end, George, what do you want them to drop in the comments?
Money bag.
All right. Money bags, guys. See you guys next time.